It's one of those things that's kind of all over the place, of course, because for so long, I think for weeks, I mean, Jimbo Fisher was obviously somebody Scott Woodward, the athletic director, really wanted, as a past relationship with, of course, the Texas A&M and even LSU in the early 2000s. And quite frankly, for a few weeks, there was optimism there. I mean, I think for about the last, I'd say late October, there was a lot of indications that, like, hey, they think he's coming. And that's kind of changed in the past week. You started hearing word about a week ago that it looked more like a no. And then obviously you add in Jimbo's comments Monday that seemed pretty strong. So it seems like they moved on from Jimbo Fisher. Then I think there was a lot of push and a pretty big offer thrown Lincoln Riley's way that, this past week. And I never heard anything one way or another about if Lincoln Riley would be interested or not, but it did seem like that was kind of the next big fish that Scott Woodward was going for. And of course, seems like a crazy move, but he has a history of kind of pulling off these crazy moves that people don't think are possible, from Chris Peterson to come to Washington from Boise, to Kim Mulkey leaving A&M for LSU, and of course Jimbo from Florida State. So he's good at that, but it does kind of seem as of now like Lincoln Riley is an unlikely one to land. Then the really big question is, then where does it go? And that's been hard to figure out. I've heard Matt Campbell from Iowa State thrown around a few times. I think that would be a really interesting move. That would come with its own questions, though. Then you start hearing, names that you can't tell if they're real, right? You can't tell if they're really considering Mark Stoops. You can't tell if they're really considering, how real a Matt Rule at the Carolina Panthers is, things like that. But you start hearing those names, but it's just hard to trace down what's real. And the interesting thing, and the one that it could be misleading, but, for weeks, Billy Napier over at Louisiana was kind of a no way. They were just kind of, Scott Woodward didn't seem like he was going to entertain that or had any interest. And that might still deep down be the case, but there has been a lot of word in the past week that, hey, he is actually doing his due diligence on Napier as a solid backup, and he is, maybe reaching out to him and things like that. And I don't know if that's just him, doing it out of, for other reasons, but it just seems like there are a lot of options right now, but it's just tough to tell after Riley who the number one choice is.